The IraFistell Show. Call us now at 888-822-8255. That's 888-822-TALK. Now, here's IraFistell.
Yeah, it's 14 minutes past the hour. Doug McIntyre's in the studio with us, and Mark is on the line. Mark, did you have anything else to add to your previous comment about gas prices and oil?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I don't think it should be made a large political issue, because I think most of the American people just don't understand the necessity for the high oil prices. In fact, in the Middle East itself, most of the Gulf countries have 20 to 30% unemployment, and those that do have higher employment, most people are employed in the government and basically given subsidized types of jobs to placate the society. And in countries, for example, like Saudi Arabia, which has a high student population with 20-30% unemployment, if you don't have high oil prices to stabilize countries like that, you're going to have major problems 10, 20 years from now, where you have these Islamic fundamentalists opposed to the student movements that are going to be unemployed if you don't keep these oil prices up.
Well, that may be true, but it's a tough argument to make to a father of three who's making $36K and he's got a 60-mile commute to work and he can't afford to fill his tank.
Yeah,
I mean, the bottom line is
when he sends those three kids off to fight in the Middle East, he'll be a lot happier paying higher oil prices.
Well, I'm just saying you're presenting this though as an either or, as if there's no alternative, and there is an alternative. The thing is, there is a thing called domestic production, which we frankly are exploiting very little of our own resources because we don't like the inconvenience or the blight of oil derricks off the coast of California and a lot of other things.
And not only environmental reasons, there are very good economic reasons.
But we're already
if the price of American production is very high and the price of foreign imports is lower, what would you do?
Well, that's one of the reasons. Look, I think all of this. You remember, the internal combustion engine is a 19th century technology.
That's right.
And it's now still being used in the 21st century. It largely hasn't changed.
Not yet. Not for another few months.
Well, that's true.
Okay.
But it largely has not changed in over 100 years. I believe enormously in the creative power of American invention. We have demonstrated it time and time again, so-called Yankee ingenuity. If we ever reach the point where there is actually a jeopardy of running out of oil and fossil fuels, I believe that you will see alternative fuel sources come out of the woodwork, because the country is not going to allow itself to grind to a halt because we can't move our goods and services.
I have read up about the oil industry, and the prediction is that probably in 20, 30 years from now, there will be such a glut of oil. We have such amazing new drilling platforms.
Well, I agree. You're absolutely right about that. All of these wells that were abandoned 50 years ago can, because it was too expensive to get the oil out of them, and it was cheaper to just drill a new hole. The technology has increased. They can reopen wells all across this country. That's why people who say we're running out of oil are just not telling the truth. We have vast amounts of oil just here. That's even before you start looking overseas. There is no oil shortage. There is an artificially inflated price that can change just as quickly as it went up and go back down.
Right, but I think it's better to have it up there.
Well, thank you for your call.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
It's 17 minutes past the hour at 888-822-TALK. Now, there is an argument for oil prices being up, but as you say, it's hard to sell to the consumer who's paying the prices.
Well, there's, the argument that the caller was making, that it's good for us because that will stabilize those regions and it will prevent us from having to get involved in military actions. I guess you could make that case as he did. I don't see that as a real boon to mankind, that, the guy trying to raise his kids has to pay more just because there might be a revolt somewhere else. But as industrialization continues to spread around the globe, as third world nations, as Asia, specifically China, become more industrialized, what you are going to see is you're going to see a more competitive marketplace for the world's oil. And that's going to be an interesting development. Right now, Western Europe and the United States are the great consumers.
Well, and Japan.
And Japan are the great consumers of oil, petroleum products. But as China and as, even Africa and South America start to become more industrialized, they're also going to be on the marketplace, and then, that will potentially drive the price of oil up. But the bottom line is that America needs to move its goods and services by motor transport. And we're not going to allow that to stop because our entire way of life is dependent on it. I mean, that's what the Persian Gulf War was about. It's that simple. We're not going to let Saddam Hussein. I mean, it's true. That war was about oil.
Sure it was. It was about control of 40% of the oil supply of the world.
And now, to me, that is a vital national interest, and it was completely justified to go fight that war.
Nobody disagrees on that, as far as I know.
That was the few people that were in the streets protesting that said no blood for oil. Well, okay, maybe you feel that way, but you probably drove to the protest.
Yeah. Now, I don't think we have any disagreement about the fact that oil is the lifeblood of a modern economy. The question, of course, is how long that will be true. And, the technology in the 21st century probably will come up with some viable substitutes.
Well, the two great holy grails of invention were human flight and perpetual motion. And they were always in the same category. Now, we did a whole show on the Wright brothers back in December. The Wright brothers, tackled the problem of human flight, but perpetual motion is still, and by perpetual motion, what that means is you invent a machine that generates the same amount of energy. It generates the energy it needs to run itself and can do it in perpetuity. Cold fusion is one of the holy grails that's offered that would ultimately be the answer to perpetual motion. Solar has been offered. But the people who push electric cars, for instance, and now General Motors makes the EV1, although I understand they're discontinuing that.
Yeah,
but
they'll have a better one.
But the thing is that the people who look at electric cars as the panacea for gas are not looking at the big picture there either. Let's say, miraculously overnight, all of our gas-burning gas guzzlers turned into electric vehicles. Do you know what we'd have to do for power plant construction to build enough electric generators to recharge all those cars? You'd still get the pollution, but instead of coming out of the tailpipe, they'd be coming out of the smokestacks of the 500,000 power plants we'd have to build to recharge all these automobiles.
Yeah, it is different, though, because I would think that there probably is more efficiency in converting fossil fuels to electricity than there is in burning them directly in a mechanical engine. I would think you'd have more efficiency. More thermal efficiency, I'm pretty sure you'd have. At any rate, it's 21 minutes past the hour. My name is IraFistell.
KRLA, Talk 1110, Traffic Update.
And we'll begin in Orange County on the westbound 91 before Imperial Highway. It's an injury accident involving a vehicle that apparently went off the freeway. No word if any lanes are blocked because of this, but you can expect some activity off on the right shoulder. That's the westbound 91 before Imperial Highway.
Speak with Ira from anywhere in America. Call toll-free 888-822-8255. That's 888-822-TALK. Now, here's IraFistell.
It's 25 minutes past the hour, and my name is IraFistell, and in the studio is Doug McIntyre. Doug, let's change the subject. Do you want to talk a little bit about Oscar?
Well, I got my Oscar inoculation shot, so I didn't get Oscar fever. I know that's going to come as a shock.
Did you get baseball fever?
I always have baseball fever.
That's
this
coming
is such
up,
a great time of year. Baseball's finally about to start again.
Yeah, and of course we got the Wisconsin Badgers into the Final Four. I mean, that is really remarkable.
Well, it is, it's funny. And watching the Oscars last night, I realized, and it's the first time I've watched the show in probably 15 years from start to finish, and, it reminds me that this is sort of it's the chick Super Bowl. It's with pre-game shows and post-game shows, it has the...
Exactly. I talked to at least 3 women I know, and all of them said exactly the same thing. We've got to watch to see who's wearing what.
Well, that's what it is. It is essentially the world's largest fashion show, and that's pretty much what drives them. It's easy to make fun of the Oscars, and God knows I've spent a lot of my life doing that. But the bottom line is a billion people watch this thing. I mean, and you wonder... what impressions, if you're living in Uzbekistan and you're watching Billy Crystal and, Robin Williams, flouncing around on stage for the 900th time, you have to wonder what possible impression of American society the world gets from watching that show.
It's probably the same impression they get from watching the movies that the show is about. Talk about cultural imperialism. I mean, United States movies dominate the world's entertainment.
Well, there's no question about it. And, American, the entertainment industry is not only one of the largest exports that the United States has. It is an enormous, in fact, it may be the largest industrial export that the United States has when you add up the billions and billions of dollars that...
If you exclude agricultural products, I think you may be right.
It's bigger than automobiles, it's bigger than steel, it's bigger than gas, it's bigger than a lot of things. It's a very important economic industry, and it is enormously influential. American music, American television. I mean, I've been to Iceland, and they're watching America's Funniest Home Videos with Icelandic subtitles.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, this is true all over the world. This is one of the main reasons why the United States is what it is. Because if you compare this to any other time in history, never, ever has any one country so dominated the entertainment market of not only its own country, but the entire world.
And that sort of it brings me to the point that I wanted to make about this whole Oscar thing. I'm sitting there watching this, and I shut the sound down on my television, and I could actually hear a spooky echo from across the neighborhood of everybody else watching it.
Yeah.
You know, that usually you'd hear it during, some kind of turbulent time, Nixon's resigning or something like that. You can hear everybody who's watching the same thing.
I'll tell you when you heard it. You heard it with the space program.
Yeah, there were a couple events in our lifetime that were so big where the entire country was tuned in on it. But on Oscar night, you'd actually hear it. Of course, we're broadcasting from L.A., where it's like a televised trade show is what it really is. If you're making, copier toner and you've got an industrial show, it's like that's what it started out as. It was just sort of a dinner for the people in the industry. But what struck me is a billion people around the world are watching it, and the networks cover this like it's really important. They got all upset that the Wall Street Journal took a poll and quote-unquote revealed. They get upset that the Wall Street Journal told us who's going to win Best Supporting Actor, and they don't have a problem with the fact that CBS News will call the presidential election 6.5 seconds after the polls close in New Hampshire, and that doesn't seem to bother anybody. But we are, because of our wealth and because of the so-called 40-hour work week, which for a lot of people is really 35 hours with lunch, and with goofing off, it's about a 16-hour work week, we have more free time to spend on recreation and more money to spend on recreation, and we are disproportionately obsessed with commercial entertainment. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I work as a television and film writer and producer.
Yeah, you better not shoot the hand that feeds you.
Well, I'm not. It's just that I do sometimes wonder, why are we so obsessed with artificial entertainment? In an earlier age,
people made their own entertainment, sure.
They made their own entertainment, and it's not necessarily a healthy thing for society. That people, with the spread of People magazine and Entertainment Tonight, where people in Kansas are talking about which network is #1 in the ratings. Why do you care? What difference does it make what network is #1 in the ratings?
It makes a difference to the networks. It makes a difference to the advertisers.
Well, why does it,
all of a difference to the stations. It doesn't make a difference to the public.
But people follow that stuff now. We are obsessed with entertainment.
It's 30 minutes past the hour. We'll continue with this discussion.
Not that we're doing any here tonight.
No, we don't.
KRLA Talk 1110, live newsroom update.
An explosion and fire this afternoon at the Phillips Petroleum Plastics plant in Pasadena, Texas, killed one person and injured 71 others. 16 of the injured have been released from the hospital. Oil prices in the U.S. are apparently slipping a bit. The U.S. Energy Information Administration says the average price of unleaded gasoline slipped to about $1.50 a gallon last week from $1.53 a gallon the week before. And the first report on America's response to the census will be released tomorrow. It shows that 42% of the questionnaires have been returned. Southbound weather, it looks like we'll have partly cloudy skies tomorrow afternoon with a high in the mid-60s.
Live, this is the Ira Fistell Show. To speak with Ira from anywhere in America, call toll-free 888-822-8255. That's 888-822-TALK. Now, here's Ira Fistell.
Okay, it's 27 minutes before the hour. That's entertainment. Doug McIntyre is with us. We're talking about the Oscars and about the significance of the American entertainment industry, as a matter of fact. Our telephone number is 888-822-TALK. That's 888-822-TALK, toll-free, anywhere you are in the United States. Any surprises for you in the Oscar show?
Well, I was surprised I watched it.
All right, beyond that.
Beyond that, no, I mean, the whole idea of a contest between actors and that this is the best performance of the year. I mean, it's sort of fraudulent by design. I mean, if you want to have a real acting contest, then let's take 5 actors and all have them play the same role, and we'll see who does the best job on it. I mean, it's ridiculous to compare, what Kevin Spacey is doing in his film and what, Hurricane Carter, what Denzel Washington is doing that. They're completely different. You're coming from a totally different place. So, are there upsets? I mean, I guess so. I mean, some people would have thought, well, Annette Bening would win Best Actress because she's pregnant, and The Picture won Best Everything, and you'd figure they'd get the clean sweep. But, the bottom line is, I guess people like it. They obviously like it because everybody makes fun of it the next day, or sometimes they make fun of it while they're watching it, but they keep watching it. So this obsession with entertainment is something that I have been fascinated by for a very long time. It is interesting to me, for instance, that a lot of people walk around knowing the intimate details of movie stars or TV stars' lives.
Oh, it's a national obsession.
And they don't know their own grandmother's maiden name.
Yeah. You look at the supermarket tabloids, and there's one subject in common with all of them. They all deal with somebody who has been either in the movies or on television or both.
Yeah, I mean,
Subject matter is always stars.
Well, and local, television news has become nothing but that. I mean, the television news feeds it. It's the symbiosis of cross-promotion, the synchronicity of cross-promotion, whatever, the studio owns. If, Disney owns ABC, and ABC's got a movie of the week that they spent, $12 million to make. So that night you watch the movie of the week, and then the local news at 11 says, and coming up next, the real story of the thing we just told you for 2 months to watch. That is not the real story. And it's all cross-promotion. The line between entertainment and politics has been crossed for years. News and entertainment is crossed for years. But I am just constantly taken with how obsessed we are with the details of so-called celebrities. And we have an absolute army of celebrities in this country because of the expansion of media. You have cable news. You've got things like ESPN, for instance, in the sports world. We're constantly being bombarded with another athlete that's been arrested for doing something. Well, the bottom line is that ESPN2 is now covering intramural college rowing, Ivy League rowing, and we're creating this whole army of celebrities.
Does anybody watch all that stuff?
Well, somebody's watching it. It's still on, and the bottom line is you got 24-hour-a-day sports stations and talk radio and stuff. So we have created this whole army of celebrities where if you want to define what makes somebody famous, we probably have 1 million people in this country who could be qualified as famous because they have some kind of access to national media, either as an athlete, a politician, or some kind of an entertainer. And, that's getting to be a lot of quote-unquote famous people. And yet we don't talk to the people that we live with. We don't talk to our neighbors. I don't know and I'm guilty of this too, I don't know anything about the people who live next to me. I don't know anything about them at all. But I can tell you that Frank Sinatra was a forceps baby.
So I didn't know that.
But I mean, why do I know it? And I
don't know why you know
it. It's that kind of thing
because
where we know, we all have people that we are particularly interested in for one reason or another, and we know all the details of their lives, and we don't know a damn thing about the people that we spend our lives actually with. It's sometimes I think it's not very healthy.
Well, it may not be, but I think that's another way of pointing out the fact that what you see on television has become the reality. And what you encounter in daily life isn't real unless it gets on television.
Well, it's one of the reasons why Patty Chayefsky made a movie in the mid-'70s called Network, which won a lot of Academy Awards. And I'm
mad as hell, and I won't
take it anymore. But I have long argued that that's one of the... I mean, it's always in my list of the top 5 movies that I've ever seen in my life because it was so prophetic, not only about what TV news would become very quickly, by the way, the Vox Populi, that will just have cameras and will show car crashes and freeway chases, and we'll have the security cameras in the bank when Patty Hearst comes in and with the machine gun. And but there's a line from that movie where Howard Beale says right to camera, "We're not real, you're real," to the audience. And I really do think that we have bought wholesale the idea that it's not real unless it's on TV.
That's absolutely true. That's the point I was just making.
You can sell products, and it's my favorite thing when you see it, as seen on TV. You know, it's usually late night and some crappy product that they're trying to push. But the fact that they'll put a print ad, and the ad for this product in the magazine, whether it's Popeil's Pocket Fisherman or some, Cap Snaffler or some Thigh Master or something, and the big little box will be up in the corner that says the big little box. That's a problem, right? Yeah, that can't be right. But there'll be a box in the corner. They'll say,
well, it's an oxymoron, among other things.
As seen on TV, as if the fact that the fact that it was on TV makes it legitimate
That's
somehow.
exactly what it does. That is what I'm just trying to say. That what appears on TV is legitimate or real, and anything that does not appear on TV is neither legitimate nor real.
Right, and there are all kinds of, ramifications from this. As we said, we've discussed this when we did our show on President's Night. How many of our greatest presidents would be unelectable in the TV age because they wouldn't have been good on TV?
Probably most of them.
Yeah. Well, it's just, again, in the wake of Oscars, and you can have fun watching that stuff, but it never ceases to amaze me of why do we care so much about this? And I work in the business. I love it. I have a certain degree of starstruck myself. But, God, it's not that important.
Doug McIntyre has spoken. It's 20 minutes before the hour. 888-822-TALK is the number. We want you to speak at 888-822-TALK. My name is IraFistell. We'll talk about everything and anything, including Oscars, media, entertainment, politics, all the things we've talked about so far tonight, and anything else you want to discuss as well. Call right now, 888-822-TALK. It's 20 minutes before the hour.
Imagine a product everyone needs but nobody wants to use. And although you seldom use it, you keep paying for it year after year. Is this someone's idea of a bad joke? No, it's car insurance. Fortunately, this commercial is brought to you by Geico, which could save you 15% or more. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Because like nitrogen, oxygen, and a good TV remote, car insurance is one of life's essentials. Fortunately, high prices aren't. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
We're taking your calls at 1-800-CONSTIPATION.
You know how a hot dog plumps up just before it bursts?
I feel like I swallowed a beach ball.
They're describing how bloating constipation makes them feel. And if you sometimes feel the same when you're constipated, FiberCon is for you. FiberCon's natural action of fiber relieves bloating constipation, and FiberCon caplets are more convenient than fiber powders you have to mix.
But FiberCon made me feel like myself again.
Be regular. Be yourself. It's easy with FiberCon. Use only as directed.
Live, this is the IraFistell Show. To speak with Ira from anywhere in America, call toll-free 888-822-8255. That's 888-822-TALK. Now, here's IraFistell.
All right, it's 15 minutes before the hour. We're talking about entertainment, Doug McIntyre, and along those same lines, talking about entertainment, we also have the NCAA basketball tournament going on and the NBA playing and baseball about to start. Sports is a part of the entertainment business as well, particularly professional sports, but also in this country, major college sports and maybe even high school sports are part of the entertainment business.
Well, it's an enormous part of the entertainment business, and one of the things, it's funny, as I get older, I actually watch more sports now than I did even as a kid, which is saying something because I watched a lot of baseball and basketball as a kid. And I think that one of the reasons why sports has become such a part of our lives is that we are, I believe, increasingly cynical about the scripted world. So much of what we see on television is scripted. Both obviously the fiction that is created by guys like me, who will sit down and write a television show or a movie. That's a scripted, rehearsed, practiced piece of entertainment. And then a lot of what we are given as quote-unquote news is scripted too.
Well, if that were true, though, if the attraction of sports is that it's not scripted, then political campaigns ought to be major TV events.
No,
they're not.
No, because you see, I think that the modern campaign is completely scripted, and that's one of the reasons why there is such a lack of interest in it, that there is not a spontaneous moment in American politics. It's one of the reasons why I enjoyed John McCain as a candidate, because he was a bit of a loose cannon and he wasn't predictable. The two candidates that we have right now are completely predictable. The conventions that were going to be televised this summer are nothing but TV shows now. There's not going to be.
Right.
They're not going to allow anybody to speak at either convention. There's going to be no anti-abortion speaker at the Democratic convention. There's going to be no pro-abortion speaker speaking at the Republican convention. It is rehearsed and directed by TV professionals. The Clintons even brought brought in Hollywood producers, the Thomasons, to do their convention. It's a TV show. So sports is the last venue of entertainment where you do not know the outcome. Even heavy favorites can be upset. And it's also in a world where everything seems to be shades of gray. Sports remain black and white. You either hit the ball over the fence or you don't hit the ball over the fence. They keep score. They have umpires to say that's fair or foul. And I think that people are so longing for something that is fresh, that's one of the reasons that sports has a very powerful hold over a world, a politically correct world where you have to watch what you say in the workplace. On the field of sports, it becomes very straightforward. Either you throw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball and it goes over the plate and the guy swings and misses, or he hits it over the fence, or you hit the shot with the clock ticking down, and you don't know the results. And we love upsets, and you can root for underdogs, and it has a powerful hold. But with that said, we have the wild card that I cannot figure out, and that is the growing absolute obsession with professional wrestling, which is scripted.
Yeah, except that maybe the people who watch it don't know it.
Well, I think that...
Did it ever occur that maybe that's the reason, that people don't realize that it's scripted?
Well, I think once you get past the age of 12, you pretty much know that it's scripted, and yet there's an awful lot of adults. The explosion of interest in what we call pro wrestling is astonishing. They're opening... I mean, it is an enormously popular event where they can sell thousands and thousands of tickets for live events. The television ratings are through the roof. The merchandising is through the roof. They're now starting to open up stores that are dedicated just to selling pro wrestling, you know, merchandising. And yet...
And you've got the wrestling governor.
You've got a governor of the state of Minnesota. You know, our governor can beat up your governor was one of the T-shirts and bumper stickers they were selling. So that sort of makes the opposite argument. But what it does is it points out one of the beauties of the time in which we live, which is that we have astonishing diversity available to us across the board right now, more so than any point in history. If you have an interest, no matter how esoteric it might be, you now have the resources to indulge that esoteric interest. In the day and age where rap music or hip-hop music dominates the top of the pop charts, it's still possible to be a classical music fan and to buy CDs, original music that's still being written by composers, symphonic music. I happen to like jazz and swing era music, which at 42, you know, makes me a bit of an oddity. But I just saw Keely Smith, a great jazz singer from the 40s and 50s, has a brand new CD out, and there she was on the Conan O'Brien show. It is an incredibly eclectic field for whatever your interests are. We might be losing the communal sense that we had in the 50s and early 60s when there were only 3 network television stations and the whole country got the same source. But the upside of it is that the marketplace now will indulge whatever your interest is so that you don't have to be stuck with just whatever some executive in an office is deciding will be popular entertainment. You can get whatever you want, from small little films that are made in foreign countries to mainstream Hollywood blockbusters to high school sports. If you're into high school sports, there's a channel showing it. It's all out there.
Going to be much more so, you would think, down the road as the internet comes in.
There's no question about it. It's going to. It is already changing enormously the way we perceive, culture.
It's 9 minutes before the hour. We're talking with Doug McIntyre tonight. And where are the people? You all watched the Oscars last night and go to sleep early tonight? 888-822-TALK is the telephone number. And we'll talk about anything you want to talk about. Doug and I are here. I'm Ira Fistell.
KRLA Talk 1110 Traffic Update.
And we have a couple of car fires to tell you about. The first one's in Colton on the eastbound 10 on the Pepper Avenue off-ramp. All it says here is car fire. Doesn't say if any lanes are blocked. And in the Verdugo Pass on the westbound Foothill Freeway, the 210 past Latuna Canyon, here we have a car fire. That's off on the right shoulder. In South Central Los Angeles on the southbound 110 before Manchester Avenue, it's a 2-car wreck. That's in the center divider. In Fullerton now, on the eastbound Riverside Freeway, the 91, you're going to find the left lane coned off between Magnolia and Harbor. Staying with the Caltrans projects in Santa Ana on the northbound 5 between the 22 and State College, it's the 2 left lanes that are coned off. And back into Fullerton on the eastbound 91, full freeway closure at the 5 freeway.
to coast. Welcome to the IraFistell Show. To get in on the conversation, call us toll-free at 888-822-8255. That's 888-822-TALK. Now, here's IraFistell.
All right, it's 6 minutes before the hour, and nobody else wants to talk to us. We'll talk, right, Doug?
Well, we
can talk. We'll keep talking. I wanted to get to the NCAA.
We were born talking, Ira. Actually, when we were born, we asked the doctor to slap us.
I want to get to the NCAAs for a minute. I was right on Michigan State. I picked Duke to get to the Final Four, and, of course, was upset there. But I still think Michigan State's the best team in the country, and I think Michigan State will probably win the tournament. The interesting game, really, is North Carolina and Florida, because that's the classic example of the contest between size and speed. North Carolina just beat Tulsa, which said, Tulsa said speed beats size. Well, speed didn't beat size in that game. Florida presumably is as good, if not better, than Tulsa, and North Carolina still has the size advantage. Will North Carolina get to the finals?
Well, I think everybody's lost a lot of money on their brackets this year because, with the exception of Michigan State, nobody who's honest would have said that they had these teams going to the Final Four. But, well,
if anybody picked Wisconsin to get to the Final Four, that would be a stunner.
Oh, look, NC State was on the bubble anyway. I mean, a case can be made they shouldn't North Carolina shouldn't have even been in this tournament. I mean, they lost twice to Virginia. But, and Virginia didn't go, and they did.
Yeah, so, the only reason they made it is because they played a tougher non-conference schedule than Virginia played.
So, we got a situation here now where basically Michigan State will probably win. I mean, the Michigan State-Iowa game was really probably the matchup. Was probably the matchup of the tournament. But, once again, here's an example of our entertainment. I mean, I couldn't give a damn one way or the other. What difference does it make to me who wins the national title?
It makes no difference to anybody, but it's fun to watch.
What I don't understand is why they still have the NIT tournament. Because the NIT tournament, if you think about it, the champion of the NIT tournament is the 65th best team in the country.
Actually, that's not true. Champion of the NIT would probably be something like the 25th best team in the country. Because a lot of those NCAA teams are teams from leagues which cannot compete. And they always lose, right off the top. The 65th team is not necessarily the 65th best team in the country. They're about the 25th or 30th.
Yeah,
best
but
team.
it's like, hey, we're 25. Let's get a big foam rubber finger with 25 fingers.
What's wrong with it? Why does there have to be one champion?
Well, because America likes champions.
All right, but why does there have to be one champion? Why can't there be 5 champions?
Well, college football's been doing that for years.
That's
but
right.
The bottom line,
I love it.
Well, I know you like it.
And I don't like the so-called bowl championship series. It's nonsense. I think what they should have done, and here this is just my personal opinion, but I think that the Pac-10 and the Big Ten with the Rose Bowl affiliation, the 21 schools, should have just said to the rest of the world, forget it. We'll have our own championship. We aren't interested in the rest of you guys. We'll go by our own standards. We'll play our own championship game. And you guys can go chase yourselves.
Well, as we were talking about,
they could have done it. They had the money and they had the television ratings to do it.
The bottom line is that if it wasn't for gambling, college football would virtually vanish, except for keggers at the at homecoming.
It wouldn't vanish, but it wouldn't be anywhere near. But I'll tell you what would be hurt would be pro football.
Yeah.
Would be extremely hurt because gambling is, and I meant to say this when you're talking about why sports is popular. One of the main reasons sports is popular is because of gambling.
Sure it is.
And anybody who doesn't think that gambling is a factor, a major factor in the interest in sports, is just closing their eyes to it.
About 6 or 7 years ago, I was working on the syndicated version of WKRP in Cincinnati, and at the time, Tawny Katane, the actress, was in the show, and she was dating, who is now her husband, Chuck Finley, the former pitcher for the Angels, now pitches for the Cleveland Indians. And we had a World Series pool at work. And everybody bought their squares, and Chuck Finley, who had just signed a 4-year, $16 million contract, won the World Series pool. And won he won the $340 in the World Series pool. And I remember talking to him about it, and he goes, the odd thing is, this is exciting money.
The new Easy Saver plan. It's as easy as it gets.
Hi, I'm Juanita Holcomb from the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office. Do you ever find yourself looking for an alternative to costly lawyer fees and lengthy court cases? Now you can settle your conflict through free mediation services offered by the Los Angeles City Dispute Resolution Program. This is a free service to all Los Angeles County residents. Many people have solved their problems through mediation. So if you have a conflict with a landlord, school, neighbor, or a business, call for free mediation services. At the Los Angeles City Dispute Resolution Program, the number is 213-485-8324. That's 213-485-8324. And I'm Juanita Holcomb for the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office. And that's a reminder from the new LA Talk 1110.
Coast to coast, welcome to the IraFistell Show. To get in on the conversation, call us toll-free at 888-822-8255. That's 888-822-TALK. Now, here's IraFistell.
Good morning. It's 7 minutes past the hour. Doug McIntyre sitting in with us this morning, and whatever it is you want to talk about, we'll talk. Doug, a blow was struck for the integrity of architecture the other day. They blew up the Kingdom.
Yeah, they should have blown that up years ago.
I mean, isn't that a great thing to see, that this absolute awful monstrosity, and it was really awful. It was ugly, it was dull, it was a horrible place to play. Of course, it was loud. It did have that advantage, but they blew it up, and they're going to put a new football stadium, which is ridiculous. They're going to pay $450 million for a new football stadium. I don't know why they can't just rent the University of Washington Stadium and leave it at that. But
well, it doesn't have luxury suites.
I know, luxury boxes, yeah. Talk about entertainment. Now, that's another thing that's happening. The segregation of entertainment that you might think. You might define it as segregation, because those people who are going to use those luxury boxes it's like they're going to a different event. You're not mixed with them at all.
Well, it's the price of tickets in general. I mean, the price of Laker tickets, for instance, out here in L.A. are just so exorbitantly expensive, it really does make it virtually impossible for the average fan to go to a game. It is becoming, it reminds me of like the gladiators. And this is also true across the board. We are becoming fatter as a nation. It's like we're breeding a special race of people who are the athletes. And they do physical stuff for the rest of us couch potatoes to just watch, and we will pay exorbitant prices to watch these people do amazing things like run. You know, stuff that we all used to do.
The trouble with that is it's not really true. You had 30,000 people running in the LA Marathon.
Yeah, but, you know...
30,000 people running 26 miles for nothing?
Yeah, you have some people who are really into fitness, but, you know, the rest of the nation continues to become more and more, you know, especially now that we're completely linked to computer terminals and everybody's spending... We thought sitting on the sofa watching TV was bad. Well, you know, I'm telling you, it was the invention of the automatic TV changer, the flipper, you know, the remote, when people didn't have to get off the sofa anymore to change the channel. And now, of course, you got a whole generation, if not two generations, that are just glued to computer screens, and we do that all day. And people live very, very sedentary lives, and we have a few people who are really into physical activity, and it's almost like what happened with music. And before commercial entertainment became so big, a lot of people played musical instruments. Somebody played the piano, somebody played the banjo or the guitar or whatever, and they entertained themselves. And now all of a sudden we treat people who can play the piano as if it's alchemy.
But you know what? There are probably far more people playing today than there ever were.
Well, that's true. There are more people today. So if you just go, but if you look at percentage of population, my guess is it's at an all-time low.
I would doubt that very much. But there's no question that commercial entertainment has become a huge market, an enormous market. But this is a trend that, you know, this trend has gone back to the middle of the 19th century, and it goes hand in hand with industrialization. Excuse me, we'll talk about this in just a minute. It's 10 minutes past the hour, and we'll have more calls in just a moment. 888-822-TALK. Come on, people. Join the conversation. I'm IraFistell.
Coast to coast, welcome to the IraFistell Show. To get in on the conversation, call us toll-free at 888-822-8255. That's 888-822-TALK. Now, here's IraFistell.
It's 13 minutes past the hour, and 888-822-TALK is the telephone number. Well, with me in the studio here is Doug McIntyre. You people at home can't hear this awful sound that comes over the air, but
I think we've been attacked by aliens.
Over the phone lines, but it just really disconcerts us because we hear it in our earphones. All right, I'm just talking about the implosion, I should really say, of the Kingdom, What a beautiful job they did, though. If you look at the pictures, the demolition was so perfectly done. Everything fell right into the middle of the circle. You know, it was a beautiful job. And Doug, your point was this is another kind of entertainment.
Sure it is. We love this. We love car wrecks.
It's on national TV.
Well, look, I tell you,
blow up the building.
The first person to go on the air with the explosion channel 24 hours a day, it just stopped blowing up, is going to get rich. So if there are any backers out there who want to go on, but it's true. I mean, you know, I've been saying...
Well, now you're going to have to start finding things to blow up.
Well, there's no shortage of it. In fact, I think we should open it up to the listeners. What would we like to see blown up next? And we can make this Vox Populi, and we'll just...
I do like the idea of blowing up the King Dome, though, because it really was a horrible
Well,
thing.
I think any...
Candlestick Park should be next.
All dome stadiums should be blown up. I mean, I've been to the Sky Dome in Toronto, and I suppose when the roof is open, it's not a terrible place to be, but when the roof is closed, it's like watching a baseball game at a mall.
Well, Candlestick is my next
well,
target.
Of course, it is gone.
It's not. It's 49ers going to use it.
Well, it's gone for baseball. I don't care where football players play.
Oh, well, all right. But I would like to see that one done away with. I wonder if I have any other candidates that I'd like to really get rid of. You don't like domes in general. I don't like domes in general either much, but...
Well, all of the, for instance, Three Rivers Stadium in Cincinnati.
That one's going to go. Well, Three Rivers is Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. That should also go. It's a terrible place.
It is.
Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia is a terrible ballpark.
Yeah, it's been falling down since it was built.
Olympic Stadium in Montreal is a catastrophe and has been from the day they built it.
Well, they're still building it.
And as much as I love my New York Mets, Shea Stadium is not exactly a jewel of architecture either. You know, it's funny, during the baseball strike a couple years ago, they did an economic study to see how it impacted the neighborhoods. The only neighborhood that had zero impact on its economy was Shea Stadium because it's surrounded by junkyards. I mean, Roosevelt Avenue is nothing but auto salvage yards, and there isn't any businesses
well, you
to
know
be
what
affected.
It was built on? It was built on
an ash heap.
An ash heap, sure.
It's built on what's left of the... Well, it was built concurrently with the '64 World's Fair, but...
Right. But if you read The Great Gatsby by Fitzgerald, he talks about the Valley of Ashes. That's where Shea Stadium is.
That's exactly right, and it's a swamp, and it's sinking, and it's... and the irony is that Shea Stadium is designed by the same architect who designed Dodger Stadium. But there's a difference when you look out across Chavez Ravine and you're looking at palm trees and mountains, purple mountains at sunset, and you look out at Shea Stadium and it's a tower from a zipper factory and an auto salvage yard.
Well, actually, what you see from Shea is planes all the time.
Well, it's funny. When I was a kid growing up,
about every minute there's another plane going by.
If I was watching a Met game on television, the announcers, Ralph Kiner and Bob Murphy, and at the time Lindsey Nelson, would stop talking for about 3 minutes while a plane would take off. And then just as it would fade away from the TV sound, it would come out your bedroom window.
And you'd hear it.
So for 6 minutes, you couldn't hear a thing.
That's if you lived in Queens, anyway. Let's go to the phones here. Esther is on the line from Woodland Hills, California. Hi, Esther.
Hi, Ira. Maybe you can help me with a movie since you two have blown up all the statements.
Oh, yeah, we've blown up the King Dome and a few other places.
Yeah, you had one good time, haven't you?
And Esther, we're taking nominations. What would you like to see blown up?
Can I say it on the air?
Sure.
About half of Washington right now.
There you go.
That wasn't very nice,
I'll tell you what, if I asked Osama bin Laden, he'd probably say the World Trade Center.
I think, Esther, as long as you don't start renting Ryder trucks, you're going to be okay. But as soon as you start driving around in a big yellow truck and you say you want to blow up half of Washington, you may have some guys wearing sunglasses visit you.
Anyway, what was your question going to be?
There's a movie that I can't remember the name of it. It was several years ago. It was I keep thinking it was Sandra Dee, and it's a younger group, and her mother-in-law gave her a book on. She was having some problems with her husband, and her mother-in-law gave her a book, say How to Train Your Dog.
How to Train Your Dog?
Yeah, and she followed this book.
And trained her husband?
Yeah, to her husband. She trained him with a dog book.
Oh, I know I don't know this. Doug, do you?
No, I have no idea.
Well, it really did exist, and I keep thinking it was Sandra Dee and someone. Mm-hmm. It's been several years ago, but
Sandra Dee. It's going to be a lot of years ago. I don't think Sandra Dee made a movie in 30 years. It was
one of the younger actresses, though, but it did exist, and it was a hilarious movie.
Well, we'll see if anybody knows the answer to that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll be listening, right?
We might have to put an emergency call into Marvin on the movies for this one.
Yeah, okay.
All right, thank you very much. We'll see if we can find out the movie in which the wife trains her husband with a book on dog training.
That's right. Her mother-in-law gave it to her. They were it was a young couple that had gotten married, and they were having some different
That's a great,
things.
Esther, that's a great idea. I don't know who did it, but it's a great idea.
No, it really truly was a movie.
Yep. All
and
right.
I tried to get through the night when you had the gentleman, with old
Marvin was
movies.
your Friday night.
Yeah, on Friday night, and I couldn't get through.
I'll tell you one thing, if that's how we're going to be training husbands, I wouldn't want to be the wife who wants to read the paper after him.
All right.
I'll just let that go right by.
You two work on that one for a while, will you?
Let's see if we can find out.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Keep listening. It's 20 minutes past the hour. Anybody have any idea what that movie was? 888-822-TALK is the telephone number. That's 1-888-822-TALK. Whoever wrote that should have probably gotten a screenplay for Best Comic Idea of the Year or something.
Well, it depends.
Oscar.
It depends on how it was. It's all in the execution. There's a lot of great ideas that when you see how they, the movies, the movies and television is such a collaborative business that a lot of times you go to the movies and you go, how in God's name did that thing ever get made? How did that turkey ever end up on the screen? It may have started out very promising, but so many people are involved in the process. It's not like, a painter. No one goes up to the painter and says, look, I think it should be 4 inches shorter on the left and the background should be blue instead of green. The movies, everybody has an opinion, and because there's a lot of money involved, you have to listen to a lot of people. So things can go haywire very easily.
What did they say about the giraffe? Looks like it was designed by a committee.
Yeah.
It's 21 minutes past the hour, and I'm IraFistell.
KRLA, Talk 1110. Traffic updates.
Speak with Ira. Call toll-free from anywhere in America. 888-822-8255. That's 888-822-TALK. Now, here's Ira Fistell.
24 minutes past the hour, and I'm IraFistell. In the studio with us is Doug McIntyre, and on the phone lines, and 888-822-TALK, there's room for you, whoever you may be, and wherever you are in the United States of America, because it's a toll-free call, 888-822-TALK. Okay, Doug, where were we? We were just talking with Esther about this dog training movie, whatever it was, and we're talking about a movie. You said something earlier tonight that I really got upset with. You said
not about the three-point rule, was it?
No. You said you
I almost caused Ira to have a stroke by defending the three-point shot in basketball.
Next thing I know, you're going to be defending the designated hitter rule. You'll be in trouble.
No, that's going to go.
You were talking about movies being better than they've ever been. And, boy, I do not agree with that. Well, I really cannot buy that.
Well, I think that, like most golden ages of anything, there will only remain golden as long as you don't actually watch it. I've watched a lot of the so-called golden age of television. You go to the Museum of Broadcasting either in L.A. or in New York or any place else where it's available.
Yeah.
And it's, frankly, a lot of it is really dreadful. And I feel the same way about the movies. There are a lot of movies that were made in earlier times that I absolutely love and think are brilliant, and they've held up well. And there are movies that even in their time, some movies don't have a long shelf life, but they're right for their time. But as a general rule, it depends on what you're looking for the movies. If you're looking for escapism and fantasy, then maybe the movies of the 30s and 40s were better. But they were also almost completely white. They were almost completely Protestant. They were almost completely upper class. And I don't think that they were very reflective of the reality that most of the country was living. The movies today are very eclectic. You still have fantasy movies. You still have big blockbusters. You still have, you have comedies of manners. But you have movies that reflect real life and how people actually behave, much more so than you ever see. I mean, even a film like that I admire a lot, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, for instance, with Jimmy Stewart. And you look at that picture, it's a fabulous performance by Stewart, who is watchable in virtually anything he does, but it's laughably absurd in a lot of its detail. How children are portrayed in the movies back at that time were almost always fake. I mean, it's a rare movie from that time when kids aren't precocious and precious little imps. And, you look at movies that are made today, and they deal with issues as we actually live our life. Now, some people don't want that. They go to the movies just for escapism. But as I was saying earlier, the marketplace is much more open today. It's much more diverse. And if you like the old-style movies, they still do make them. There's enough movies that are made today, like any of the Father of the Bride movies that were made. There was another Bride movie, Runaway Bride, that was made this summer. That movie is a remake of an original film from the 30s and 40s. So it's all out there, but I just think that, when I go to the movies, I as a general, like to see characters that I can identify with, or at least human behavior that I can identify with, and I just think that the movies today are just better at that than they used to be.
Well, I'll tell you, I really do not agree with you. To me, movie making has largely become a matter of too many special effects, too much pretension, not enough story, not enough real people.
Well, there are those movies. I don't like any of the Star Wars pictures. I saw the first one.
Yay, somebody else who didn't like it.
I thought the first Star Wars movie was the most boring thing
You and I are the only two people in the world who think that.
But, even let's look at this year's winners. I mean, you have a movie like Boys Don't Cry. You have a movie like Girl Interrupted that's winning Academy Awards. These are real people. These are people who are behaving like human beings. American Beauty, even though it's a sort of satirical comedy, it's a movie about something that reflects the time in which we are living, and pictures like that are being made today.
All right, now I didn't see American Beauty. I did see Cider House Rules. I did not think Cider House Rules is a particularly good movie. I saw a movie this weekend by Pedro Almodovar, the Spanish director.
Right.
It's called All About My Mother.
Mm-hmm.
If you would please tell me what that movie was supposed to be saying, I'd like to know. Because half the time, I don't understand what story the movie is telling.
Well, you're also looking at a Spanish film, and there may be cultural differences, and it may not have been a good movie. But what was a Fred Astaire movie about? I mean, it was about nothing. It's if you scratch the surface, you find more surface.
Okay, we're off and running on another discussion. It's 29 minutes after the hour. And it's Siskel and Ebert. No, not really. I'm IraFistell with Doug McIntyre.
KRLA Talk 1110, live newsroom update.
A Metro Rail train struck a woman crossing the tracks in Compton yesterday afternoon. Luckily, she suffered only minor injuries and is in stable condition at Martin Luther King Hospital. The Long Beach Police Department will honor officers and citizens for outstanding acts of bravery and heroism during the past year. The 32nd Annual Police Awards Luncheon will be held later today at the Westin Hotel in downtown Long Beach. And NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena is training 33 educators from 22 states this week. Teachers participating in the Solar System Educator Fellows Program will learn techniques for training other teachers to use current space missions to help kids learn math and science. Southland weather, it looks like we'll have a partly cloudy afternoon with highs in the mid-60s. On the freeways, in Inglewood, on the southbound 405 on the Century Boulevard off-ramp, it's a stalled vehicle. That's all the information we have. It's 12:30. I'm Rich Stolen on the new KRLA Talk 1110.
It all started with the El Cholo Cafe on Western Avenue in Los Angeles back in 1923. This is one of LA's great restaurants, famous for green corn tamales and margaritas. Gourmet magazine once said it would be hard to imagine Los Angeles without El Cholo, and that's where the Salisbury family started their 5 generations in the restaurant business. Since then, they've opened other restaurants, the Cafe El Cholo in North Orange County, the El Cholo in Santa Monica, the El Cholo Cantina in Irvine, and now, since 1986, the Sonora Cafe on La Brea Boulevard in Los Angeles, with exciting contemporary Southwest cuisine by Chef Felix Salcedo. In Orange County, you'll find the Cat and the Custard Cup, opened in 1979, a 2-story country inn serving contemporary cuisine with 3 fireplaces, copper-top bar, and an old-fashioned unusual wine list. And soon to come, the Old Cannery Restaurant in Newport Beach. All products of the Salisbury family have been operating them since 1923, and Ron Salisbury himself pays close attention to the chain and makes sure the service is excellent and the prices are affordable. You don't stay in business 5 generations without knowing what you're doing.
Hey, Charlie, you planning on telling your friend Joel about his snoring problem? During his visit, you said you had complaints from your neighbors 2 blocks away. Feel sorry for his wife. How's she sleep with that racket?
Obviously not well. The bags under her eyes were bigger than their carry-ons when they're flight.
Oh, maybe you should tell Joel's wife about Snorebusters.com.
Snorebusters.com.
That's right, Snorebusters.com, or simply dial 818-SNORE-28.
Free, 888-822-8255. That's 888-822-TALK. Now, here's Ira Fistel.
And it's 27 minutes before the hour, and let's go back to the phones. Hal is on the line with Doug McIntyre, and I'm Ira Fistel. Hello, Hal.
Hello.
Hello, Hal.
How you doing?
Good.
I've been listening for about probably an hour or so. I'm always kind of intrigued when you have Doug on there. Good evening, Doug.
How you doing, Hal? How are you?
I'm doing good. Because you guys are kind of like dueling banjos. You're both so knowledgeable on so many subjects, and you're both so articulate. You kind of have a little duel going on there, which is good, you know.
Well, Hal,
we have a lot of fun doing.
You should see what goes on during the commercial breaks. That's when it actually turns physically violent. I swear to God, if I keep pushing that the 3-point rule is good for basketball, I may actually kill Ira.
No, because I've got my protector here. I got Jay Corrales here to take care of me here.
I want to say, Doug,
and he's bigger than you are.
Come up for air, McIntyre, and Ira. Hold back the Don Fistel.
Well, thank you. We try to do that.
But anyway, Ira, we've talked about this before once or twice. I don't know if you remember. But you just said an astounding thing a couple minutes ago. You said that movies today have too much special effects and not enough story.
Yes.
And then you follow up by saying you didn't like Cider House Rules. Has one of the best stories of any movie in recent years.
I didn't think it did. I thought the story of Cider House Rules was about 15 years or 20 years out of date.
Based on a really good book. Well, hell, the story, it takes place in the 40s, you know, in New England. It's not a...
It may have had some impact. It had been made in the 40s. It would have been a spectacular movie.
Well, you know, you bring up a point, Hal. One of the reasons that the movies, story is hard. It's very hard to do a really original story. And that's why, obviously I'm prejudiced because I make my living as a writer. But my favorite category is original screenplay because I think that highest achievement of work in film. Because when somebody sits down and takes a stack of blank pages and can create a truly original story, not based like Cider House Rules. Okay, John Irving did the adaptation himself from his own book, right. But a lot of movies are based on some other material, whether it's a true story, something from history, or a novel, or sometimes it's a remake of another picture. But an original screenplay. There were 2 films that were nominated this year for Best Original Screenplay. Alan Ball's script for American Beauty, which won, and Charlie Kaufman's script for Being John Malkovich.
Well, incidentally, just to stop you for a minute, I agree with that. You make a good point, not to belittle John Irving's own screenplay, because I thought it was excellent. But the American Beauty, to me, was clearly probably the best picture of the year, and I see a lot of movies.
Well,
I see all the movies.
I would have been very happy had Charlie Kaufman won the Oscar for original screenplay, only because Being John Malkovich is one of the oddest films I've ever seen in my life.
Well, it was one of the most original, unique films I've ever seen.
Completely original. But with that said, I've read... I have copies at home of the screenplays of all of the 5 nominated Best Screenplay scripts. And when you read them, what you find in any good script, and Alan Ball did a brilliant job of this, each of the characters in his movie speak with a separate voice. And you can see it. It's on the page. A lot of people think, well, the actor brings that to the party. Well, the actor brings an awful lot to the party. But with a great script, you can read it. It's right there in black and white that the syntax is different. One person speaks in short clip sentences. Somebody else is wordy and prolix. And you can see one person is highly neurotic in the way they respond to things. And Alan Ball achieved all that with his script, and it's just great writing. On the other hand, you look at what Charlie Kaufman did, and I've spoken to the people at Single Cell who produced that film, and the story of that movie amazes me, because that was a spec script, as was American Beauty, which means the writer wrote it with no pay, wrote it, for himself, and then tried to sell it afterwards.
Yeah.
And Being John Malkovich was written as Being John Malkovich. I thought, well, surely this had to be Being Mel Gibson, and then they would make it whichever star they could get to actually agree to do it. No, he wrote it as Being John Malkovich, which is such an odd choice, because Malkovich is a terrific actor, but he's hardly a movie star. He's not a celebrity with a capital C the way, Tom Hanks or Mel Gibson is. So it's everything about the film is odd and blazingly original.
Malkovich is sort of he's really an actor's actor. He's not a leading man, and he's not a character actor, but he could be either one.
Well, he is a leading man, but he's not a star. There's a difference between, a movie star and an actor. Sometimes, in rare cases, you actually get both. Tom Hanks is a great actor, and he's a movie star.
Well, Tom Cruise is a movie star, but not a great actor.
Although I have to give Tom Cruise credit, his performance in Magnolia is quite good. But
well, it was okay, But I almost walked out on that movie, by the way. I thought it was overblown.
There seem to be only two schools of thought about that movie. Either people love it or absolutely hate it.
Oh, I didn't hate it. I just thought it was an overblown piece of... I thought the critics loved it because they have a love affair with this director. What's his name? Andrew?
This kid, Anderson, and I say kid, he's like 28 years old. The guy's a genius. I know.
He made a great movie called Boogie Nights, and so automatically this makes everything he makes good, but in the eyes of some of the critics.
All right, now I want to bring up the movie that I saw the other night, which is the Spanish movie by Almodovar.
Yeah.
It's called All About My Mother. It won the Oscar for Best Foreign Film.
Mm-hmm. Good. I'd like to talk about that, and I'd like to bring up...
if you'll hang on a second, we will talk about it.
Okay.
Don't go away. We've got Hal on the line. 888-822-TALK is the number. Doug McIntyre's in the studio with us, and among other things, movies tonight, and a lot of other things. And I'm IraFistell. I hope you'll be joining us on the phone. 888-822-TALK. Toll free.
This is the IraFistell Show. Call us now at 888-822-8255. That's 888-822-TALK. Now, here's IraFistell.
It's 16 minutes before the hour. 888-822-TALK is the telephone number. Hal, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say a little while ago, Doug brought up the point that I think I agree with him in general, that movies today, by and large, are much better than they were in the old days. And I'm in my late 60s, so I go back to maybe the older days than you two guys, but there are some exceptions to that rule.
Oh, sure, I agree. I mean,
and I would like to give you a couple of them that I just was researching a little bit here. Oh, by the way, Sandra Dee hasn't made a movie in 25 years or 30 years, so I don't know the lady that called. She must have been thinking of some other actor.
Oh, did you hear of it? Do you know anything about it?
No, I looked up in my reference books here, and I can't see any title that even suggests, what she's talking about. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But anyway, the old classics that I think that really merit and hold up well, I have a few examples. Mutiny on the Bounty from the 30s. The original Mutiny on the Bounty with Clark Gable and Charles Lawton.
Did you see the list?
That is a fine film today.
Did you see the list of Oscar winners in the Sunday newspaper? They went through all the Oscar winners of the 75 years and ranked with the ones that they think are the top movies, the second string, the third string.
See that.
Right.
Yeah.
And The Mutiny on the Bounty was one of the 15
I believe that was
they
one
said
of them,
were the all-time best.
I also think that On the Waterfront was an example of a film that would withstand the test of time. That was really quite an accomplishment.
No, there's no question about it. And some movies have the ability to last for years, and then there's other films that are very important in their time that don't age particularly well.
Not to refute your point, but I agree with you. I do think that generally speaking, the movies of today are.
Well, for instance, I can give an example.
Better.
The Marx Brothers: A Night at the Opera is a movie that I've probably seen, and I'm serious, I've probably seen it 150 times. and that movie was so powerfully important in my life. I mean, I fell in love with comedy because of that movie. I wanted to become a comedy writer because of that movie.
Yeah.
And I can watch that movie still, and it still makes me laugh. I love every frame of it. So I'm not saying that there weren't, and I like Fred Astaire pictures. I think Fred Astaire is one of the most watchable human beings who ever lived. Yeah. But again, in the sweeping generalization, the market is more diverse now, and a lot of the people who say all the movies today it's just sex and violence are people who don't go to the movies. Because if you actually go to the movies, there's an awful lot of great stuff there.
Oh, I hear this refrain all the time from a lot of people I know. They say, there's nothing worth seeing. Well, that's definitely not true.
Yeah. I mean, it's like
there is a movie out there in the market today for practically every taste.
Well, that's my point, Hal. Yeah. And Hal, you also, being in your, 60, when you were a kid, the movies were television. I mean, on Saturday, everybody was trundled off to the movies, and a lot of people spent their entire childhood watching, B pictures or C pictures or D pictures, serial films that were every bit as drecky and horrible as television. In fact, they were made almost exactly how television is made. They used to shoot some of those westerns in 8 days. They'd shoot them and knock them off in 12 days, the whole production. And they basically were no different than Bonanza or Gunsmoke. I mean, that's what they were.
I watched hundreds of those kind of movies when I was a young kid, and I could talk about movies for hours because I've probably seen thousands of movies.
But may I make a point here, relative to what you just said, Doug? The trouble is that those movies that you cited that were made in 12 days, today they make it with enormous special effects and a huge budget, and they call it Star Wars.
Well, yes.
But it's still the same rotten movie.
Yeah.
Well, every movie is, is a fresh challenge. Some of them aspire to do more than others do. Like a film that I hadn't seen in many years. I recently watched All the President's Men, which was a very important film in its time. And I hadn't seen it probably in 15 years, if not more. And I was surprised to see how really well that picture holds up. Now, there's other films that you look at, and 10, 15 years later, it just looks dated. I mean, you look at stuff from the early 80s and or the late 70s, and the clothes are weird. Like I think a picture like Saturday Night Fever, which was such a sensation in its time, is going to be really an oddity in a few more years. I mean, what was this whole disco thing? And it's like, what kind of a bizarre world were those people living in the disco age? Is that going to have a long shelf life? I don't know. I'd be surprised.
I remember back in the 50s, I thought at the time that one of the truly great films in the musical category was An American in Paris.
Right.
And I watched it again recently, and actually about 3/4 of the movie is very, very boring, but there's one or two great sequences, notably this ballet sequence near the end.
Well, I agree. In fact,
that is really sensational, but the rest of the movie really is kind of
Well, I think that's true of most, most movie musicals. Are the plots of them are absolutely dreadful. I mean, they're just simply dreadful, but the songs were okay, so if you like the music, then you got your entertainment there.
The trouble with most movie musicals that I've seen is that they are all, almost without exception, the only one I can think of, or maybe two that don't fall into this category, I'll tell you in a minute, nearly all movie musicals give you the sense that they're too long.
That they what?
Too long.
Oh.
They drag.
Well.
The only two of which I can say for sure that that's not true, maybe three, West Side Story, My Fair Lady, and maybe Finian's Rainbow.
Well, West Side Story is really something very, very special. It almost deserves a category.
Well, you've also named three musicals that started as plays, so the story worked. It had been time tested, whereas original
West Side Story, it started in 1595.
Yeah. So
with William Shakespeare.
They knew the plot.
We got to take a break here. Hal, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
888-822-TALK. I'm IraFistell with Doug McIntyre.
KRLA Talk 1110. Traffic update.
Singer for the maiden game this Saturday night at midnight on KRLA Talk 1110.
Coast to Coast, welcome to the IraFistell Show. To get in on the conversation, call us toll-free at 888-822-8255. That's 888-822-TALK. Now, here's IraFistell.
It's now 5 minutes before the hour. 888-822-TALK is the number. Let's go to our next caller. Good morning, Harry.
Good morning. I must agree with you about the movies today, the gross $1 million movies. I just saw a movie tonight, Final Destination, and none of the special effects, the theme of someone who could predict tragedy was overplayed by the special effects. But I checked out a movie out of one of the video places, Dial In for Murder, the old
Dial In for Murder? Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah, it's a classic. And you'll see a movie this week, and then maybe 2 weeks from now, it's like it's passed away. Or, just wait for the video. People say, I'll just wait for the video. But, the classics, some pictures you can't remake to make any significance. I saw, the biblical movie, Samson and Delilah, I checked that out. And you get into the mode of it, you see Hedy Lamarr, and you'll say, gosh, Lee, she was really a Delilah. But who could remake a movie like Dial In for Murder? Or
did you see L.A. Confidential a couple of years ago?
I saw that.
L.A. Confidential is a fantastically film noir, beautifully shot, great story, great performances. Kevin Spacey easily could have won an Oscar for that as well. That's a movie that's every bit as good as Dial In for Murder.
That is an exception. I will. You said something there. That was a throwback.
Well, my point only about modern movies is that they may not make as many of the types of movies that they used to make, but there is more of everything out there. Can you imagine, for instance, right now, the Reuben Hurricane Carter story with Denzel Washington is a big hit. They wouldn't have even made that movie in the 1940s. They wouldn't have made a movie about a black man who had been done an injustice. They wouldn't have made that picture.
Well, I will say, I remember Hurricane Carter as a fighter, and no, that is true. However, they made a lot of boxing movies back in the 40s.
Yeah.
And, of course, they made the Joe Louis story, and that was about a black man. And then he played, they did some clips of him. But the main thing is about the Hurricane, it was the unique acting ability, how Denzel Washington put himself in that role.
Well, Denzel Washington's a great actor.
Yes, he's a great actor. Not just a good actor, a great actor.
Exactly. But I can't find a lot of movies. Now, I like what you said about original screenplay. American Beauty stayed on my mind a while. It had uniqueness about it. That House Rule I did not see. And Ira's points were well taken. About the significance of it. In fact, there's a lot of debate on was it pro-abortion or what?
Oh, well, it's definitely in favor of legalized abortion.
Yeah, in fact, John Irving, during his acceptance speech last night, also dedicated the Oscar to the National Abortion Rights League. So he certainly took any doubt of where he comes from.
There's no question what the movie says about it.
I'm not a particular fan of John Irving's. I couldn't stand The World According to Garp from many years ago, and Cider House Rules suffered from... There was actually too much movie. The Michael Caine character was very charming and very watchable, and if they had focused the whole picture on his character, if he had been the lead instead of the supporting actor, they would have had a movie.
Now, you see what you're saying? You're saying exactly what I've been saying, that there's not enough story.
No, in fact, Cider House Rules suffered from too much story.
Well, all right, not a focused story.
Yeah.
All right, hey, Harry, thank you very much. Call me again, will you? Bye-bye. It's now a minute before the hour, and 888-822-TALK is the number. We'd like to talk to you, whoever you are. Doug McIntyre's in the studio with me, and between the two of us, we'll try to keep you entertained. If you'll join the conversation, so much the better. See you after the top of the hour.
What can I say to you? I am so sorry. I don't want you to think that I'm a bad person. I'm a mom. I've got 2 great sons and a wonderful husband, and tonight we're all having dinner together at home. Look, I suppose that's really important to me because we don't get to do it as often these days. My husband usually works late, and the boys, well, they have their games and stuff. But anyway, I'm on my way to the grocery store, and dinner's late, so I'm kind of distracted. And pretty soon there will be something on the road that I didn't see, and I'll swerve not to hit it. But I'll hit you instead. I really am a safe driver, and please realize that I'll just be reacting on instinct. But boy, I sure hope you're wearing your seatbelt. Otherwise, I'm going to kill you. And I could never live with myself after that.
No one knows when a crash is coming, so don't get caught without a safety belt. Buckle up. A message from the Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
KRLA Talk 1110, live newsroom update.
Cab drivers have started the first of a scheduled 3-day protest. The cabbies circled City Hall in downtown L.A. for nearly 3 hours yesterday, till the LAPD forced them to leave. They're calling for a rate increase, saying they haven't had one in 14 years. A Senate panel will tackle internet predators today. The Senate Subcommittee on Children and Families wants to find out more about the threats posed to kids by cyber predators. The panel will hear from parents who've lost children to internet predators, as well as from federal law enforcement officials. Interior Secretary Bruce Babbitt has unveiled plans to reduce traffic congestion in Yosemite National Park. The proposal includes reducing Yosemite Valley traffic by up to 50%. It also limits the number of hotel rooms and campsites.
From the Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
Okay, so I'm a teenager, right? And everyone's so quick to judge me. On the outside, I may look like... But on the inside, I'm all... Just because I look like... doesn't mean I act that way. In fact, I'm actually involved in crime prevention. That sounds more like this. It's really a great way to convince adults that while you may be looking, you're really thinking.
Call 1-800-722-TEENS to find out how to make your community a safer place for everyone. Get involved. Get the number and call. 1-800-722-TEENS. A public service message from the Crime Prevention Coalition of America, the U.S. Department of Justice, and the Ad Council.
You mean I could have diabetes and not even know it?
Then why would I want to know?
Heart disease, amputations, stroke, blindness, kidney disease. They all can be caused by diabetes. So it's critical that you know if you have it. But what makes diabetes so scary? Many people don't know when they have it, because there are often no symptoms. Meanwhile, diabetes can be causing damage that will lead to serious problems later on. If you're over 45, you don't exercise, and you're overweight, you're at risk for diabetes. What should you do? See your doctor, because a simple blood test can detect the problem. And with early treatment, you can prevent the devastating effects of diabetes. For more information, call the American Diabetes Association at 1-800-DIABETES. That's 1-800-DIABETES. Don't be blind to diabetes.
Live, coast to coast, welcome to the IraFistell Show. To get in on the conversation, call us toll-free at 888-822-8255. That's 888-822-TALK. Now, here's IraFistell.
7 minutes after the hour. Good morning, wherever you are in the United States. I'm IraFistell, and Doug McIntyre's in the studio with me. And Doug, let's change the subject. You got something good here. Let's see what we can do with it.
Well, Ira, when you and I get together, we got to talk a little history. And since it's no catastrophes have happened, so that's bad for talk radio.
Well, they blew down the Kingdom. That wasn't a catastrophe.
No, that was something to celebrate. As I said, we do love explosions, and I'm telling you, that's why the 4th of July has always been my favorite holiday, because...
I think you got a great idea, the All Explosions channel.
Oh, listen, look...
You could call it TNT.
There you go. They've already got, unfortunately, TNT, but, you can't go wrong. Look, I don't know if you... when I'm stuck in traffic on the 405, and I'm sitting out on a freeway for an hour and a half in horrible traffic, and there's a wreck, at that point, I want to see the leg in the road. I figured I've got an hour and a half invested in this, and I damn well better get something out of it. But since we are sinking to the lowest common denominator, I fully expect the first person who goes to snuff films with a laugh track will make all the money, because because the money's in the low end. If you talk about ideas, they look at you like you're from another planet.
You know what H.L. Mencken had to say about that.
And Barnum, I think, had a few things to say about it, too. You can't go broke underestimating the intelligence.
Oh, that's Mencken.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I wanted to bring up, I have a dusty old tome that I've been lugging around with me called A Sense of History. It's a collection of articles from the magazine American Heritage. And there's a great chapter in here called I'd Wish I'd Been There. And they asked 50 historians to tell the historic event that they wish they could have been an eyewitness to. And I thought that this would be a fun thing for you and I to discuss and to ask people to call in and maybe, nominate the event out of the past that they would have liked to have been there for. For instance, as an example, Virginia Hamilton, who's professor and university scholar in history at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, she mentions Admiral of the Ocean Sea, and she would have liked to have been one of the sailors on the Santa Maria on October 12, 1492, when the North American continent was first seen.
I wouldn't have wanted that one.
Well, that's there's some of them are very odd choices.
I got another question. Being there, does that mean that you have to be one of the people there, or can you be there as an observer from the outside? For example, I said I want to be at the Battle of Gettysburg. I want to fight.
Well, I think it's totally up to you. It's your call on how you want to play this.
I mean, I'd like to have a helicopter, flying over the battlefield and keep an eye, see pickets charged from the air, but I don't want to be in it.
For instance, J.C. Furness, who's an author, would like to have been an eyewitness to the Salem witch trials. That's one of the events that he nominates. And
well, I'll tell you what, we're going to go through all this list here, come up with some good ones, and we'll see what we can do with this. Have some fun with it. It's 10 minutes past the hour. 888-822-TALK is the telephone number. You can participate. Just ring the phones. 888-822-TALK. And it's 10 minutes past. I'm Ira Fistell.
Coast to coast, welcome to the Ira Fistell Show. To get in on the conversation, call us toll-free at 888-822-8255. That's 888-822-TALK. Now, here's Ira Fistell.
13 minutes past the hour, and I'm Ira Fistell with Doug McIntyre, 888-822-TALK. And Doug, want to bring up some of these I wish I'd been there events.
Yeah, these are events from history. Again, to set this up again, American Heritage Magazine asked 50 historians to write a little essay about the event in history that they wish that they could have been an eyewitness to. And they run the gamut from some very peculiar choices to maybe some obvious ones, which would be, for instance, witnessing Gettysburg, or being with David M. Kennedy, as a professor of history at Stanford, wanted to be with Lewis and Clark, for instance. Millicent Fenwick, who was the ambassador to the United Nations, and a congresswoman, she wanted to be there during the debates over the Bill of Rights.
Well, now we're getting closer. How about be at the Constitutional Convention?
Well, a couple of people chose that. For instance, and this is one that I would have loved to have been there. Here's Marcus Cunliffe, who was a professor at George Washington University.
Very famous guy.
He would have liked to have been on the floor of the Senate when Daniel Webster made his reply to Hayne. Webster's famous reply to Hayne. There's crossing the Mississippi for the first time. Lincoln's farewell from Illinois was choice by Gerald Carson. Inside Lee's mind, and this is sort of an interesting essay by C. Van Woodward, who's a Sterling professor of history at Yale University, and he wanted to be inside Lee's mind, and I'll read this to you because it's brief. This is an invitation of fantasy, to see the unseeable, to witness the unwitnessable, to summon the past into the present. Since we are entering an imaginary world through the looking glass, why not go for broke? Why not choose to recover what no one has ever seen, not even the participants, not even the protagonist? Many of the most important events of history never had any witnesses, were in fact invisible. Yet they happened, and historians are always writing about them. They were the decisions, the fateful commitments, and they took place entirely within the mind and the heart. If we may enter the mind as we enter the looking glass, many temptations present themselves. No accounting for choices in such matters. Forced to pick one, I would look in on the mind of Colonel Robert E. Lee on being offered the command of Union forces in 1861.
Yeah, well, Lee is supposed to have spent the night walking up and down in the gardens of his home at Arlington, across the river from Washington, wondering what to do. Should he become general of the United States Army, or should he accept the commission from the state of Virginia? And he made his decision that Virginia was the country. He couldn't see fighting against Virginia and turned down Lincoln's commission. The Civil War lasted a good 2 years longer than would otherwise have done. If Lee had been on the other side, I think it's almost certain that the war would not have lasted beyond the beginning of 1863. That's how much difference that one man made. Lee was probably worth 200,000 men and a couple of years to the Confederacy. That's the extreme importance of Robert E. Lee as commanding general.
Well, I will nominate the two, and of course I'm greedy.
One of them's got to be Theodore Roosevelt.
Well,
the other one's got to be December 17th, 1903.
Well, certainly for me, because it's one of my hobby horses, I would certainly like to have been on that windswept beach in North Carolina.
See, I got that one right away.
On the morning of December 17th to witness the first moments of controlled human flight. I think that's rarely do we know exactly when an epic began, and that is one. But one of the historians actually has a close second for me, and it's George Scheer, who's a historian and editor and author. And he chose March 15, 1783 in Newburgh, New York, when General George Washington addressed the officer corps of the Continental Army who were on the verge of a rebellion and basically saved the nation from a military dictatorship by convincing them that we did not fight one war to supplant a king only to install another. And it was one of the least known major events in American history in my mind. It's a tremendously dramatic story because the American officer corps had not been paid for the entire bulk of the war, and a lot of these guys were really lost almost everything. And they didn't want to hear anything from Congress. And Washington, in a spectacular theatrical gesture, knew that another speech or another letter from Congress wouldn't mean anything, but he brought his eyeglasses with him to this log hall where the officers were all gathered, and he reached into his pocket to read a letter from Congress, which he knew would have no impact on them. But he pulled out his eyeglasses, and before he put his eyeglasses on, he said to the men, "You must forgive me for the use of my spectacles, but I've not only grown old in your service, but nearly blind as well." And when he put the glasses on, it was the first time he had ever worn his eyeglasses in public. And it was the first time that George Washington let down the wall of invulnerability and showed a human weakness to his men. And it literally reduced the officer corps to tears. And they realized at that point, what are we complaining about? This guy has been out front and served longer and suffered more than all of us. And if he's willing to do it, why are we fighting him? And it was at that moment that any attempt at a military takeover of the incipient American government ended. And Washington immediately left Newburgh, and that's when he rode down to the Capitol and resigned his commission and returned to Mount Vernon as a farmer. And I certainly would have loved to have been there to see that, because to me, Washington has always been an enigmatic figure. I've always been curious as to what was it about him that made great people like Jefferson and Hamilton and all of these other great people totally defer to him. What made him a leader of men? And I think that event probably would have tapped into that aspect of his character more than any other.
He must have had a tremendous personal presence. For one thing, he was 6'3".
Yeah, at a time
when everybody was 5'5". Yeah. So he was a towering giant physically. Secondly, while he's not known to have been a particularly great speaker, he did have a lot of things to say, and it may be that he was a better speaker than we've heard. I don't know.
Well, one of my favorite lines about Washington is actually in his very old age. John Adams was asked to talk about Washington and what made him special, and Adams, as always, had a very pithy thing to say. He said George Washington had the genius for silence. And that's something that I've actually, believe it or not, with all the words I say on the radio, it's something I try and struggle with to incorporate into my own life, because a lot of times you can go into a meeting, a business meeting or some kind of thing, and you're so intent on making your point that you don't hear what the other person is saying. And Washington knew how to shut up and listen and learn from others, and that's part of his greatness.
We're talking with Doug McIntyre tonight. 888-822-TALK is the number if you want to call. Very light on calls tonight. I don't know why. It's just because we're too interesting. And I'm Ira Fistell. We'll have more calls in a moment. Don't go away.
To Coast Welcome to the IraFistell Show. To get in on the conversation, call us toll-free at 888-822-8255. That's 888-822-TALK. Now, here's IraFistell.
Good morning. 24 minutes past the hour, and Doug McIntyre's with us. Okay, Doug, let's set the ground rules here. We are going to assume that for any of these events that we could attend in history, we're going to assume that the conditions are optimal. In other words, that if we're going to be at Pickett's Charge on July 3rd, 1863 at Gettysburg, we aren't in the front lines.
If you're going to be in a suit of armor marching in the Crusades, you get to spend your nights at a Four Seasons hotel.
Right. Do we count all history or just American history?
No, the book opens it up to any event in world history.
Oh, boy.
Which is quite a thing to choose from.
How about I don't know what the date would have been, but how about to be with Socrates on the day before the day of his death?
Well, I mean, I would say I'd like to be at Calvary and see whether or not Jesus comes out of that tomb. I mean, as long as we're picking things.
All right.
But I mean, maybe for the purposes of discussion, it'd be better to keep it to American history. Now, I've nominated my two: Washington's plea to the troops.
I've got a couple off the top. One would certainly be the May 10th, 1869 at Promontory, Utah, when the Transcontinental Railroad was completed. And what an exciting event that was. That was one of the climactic events of the 19th century.
Well, and also an enormously significant event.
Well, yeah. But I mean, the excitement, everybody in the country was paying attention. It was to the 19th century what the moonwalk was to the 20th century. It was the day the country was welded together from one end to the other, from coast to coast.
And a similar event to that would be the laying of the transatlantic cable, for instance, which connected telegraphically Europe to the mainland.
Yeah. Okay, that's one. Another one, I would love to have been in Virginia City in the summer of 1861 when Sam Clemens arrived at the Territorial Enterprise. I would have liked to have been there on the Enterprise and met him and talked to him and got to know him and maybe worked with him or something. That would have been a great experience.
For fun experiences, I mean, you brought up Theodore Roosevelt. Obviously, Theodore Roosevelt is somebody that I would have...
because you're Theodore Roosevelt's #1 fan. You and John McCain.
I would have... I don't know that there's an historic event out of Theodore Roosevelt's life that I necessarily wanted to be with him on. But I probably would have liked to have been with Theodore Roosevelt on one of his hunting expeditions, even though I've never hunted and have no interest in it. But just to see him in his natural element and to experience that personality would have been really fascinating.
I've got one for you. I would have liked to have been at the Metropolitan Opera House on that day in 1903 when Enrico Caruso made his American debut.
Well, similarly, I would have liked to have been...
That would have been exciting.
I would have liked to have been at Town Hall the night that George Gershwin debuted Rhapsody in Blue.
Yeah. Okay, now we're getting someplace.
But it's amazing. We quickly went to entertainment.
Well, yeah, but that's a big part of it. A big part of our lives. How about let's see some other ones that we could have been. Exciting moments from the past, huh? Oh, where would you want it to be when, for example, FDR delivers the For Freedom speech or something? Would you want to be at the speech, or would you want to be listening to it on the radio like most people did, and hear the excitement and the confidence coming out of that radio that boosted people's imaginations so much? How do you deal with something like that? You wanted that speech, perhaps, or the one that he delivered, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself," the first inaugural? How about Lincoln's second inaugural address, or the Gettysburg address? I mean, certainly like to have been there on July, it was March 4th, 1865, when he gave the second inaugural and said, "For with balance towards none, to charity towards all." I really think that may be the greatest speech he ever gave. And if it's Lincoln's greatest speech, it's certainly one of the greatest speeches any American ever gave.
Well, all political rhetoric, and I know a couple of months ago you did a show about speech making, or the topic came up, and it does seem like we certainly have been living in diminished times. We haven't heard a lot of great political rhetoric in our time. Certainly Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech is one of them, and that's another event that would have been fascinating. I actually have a tape because I'm writing a biography of the late, great Gene Shepard, who was a radio master and writer himself, and he was actually went on to the March on Washington in 1963, and I have a tape of his radio show in New York describing it the Monday after the event. And I wonder how many times at these great events, if the people who are at Gettysburg, for instance, listening, because, of course, Lincoln wasn't even the featured speaker, as you well know. It was Edward Everett who spoke for 3.5 hours, and Lincoln spoke for about 10 minutes. And yet, I wonder how many times at these great events people realized, while they were happening, that this is one for the ages.
The Gettysburg Address was probably one that was not that way. Lincoln's own people, his own associates, said, well, too bad he didn't do better.
Well, he himself said, what we say here will not be long remembered.
Of course, he was right about Edward Everett.
Yeah, that's true.
It's 30 minutes past the hour. 888-822-TALK is the number, and I'm Ira Fistell.
KRLA Talk 1110, live newsroom update.
Now, here's Ira Fistell.
All right, it's 27 minutes before the hour. Before we do some more of these, let's hear Stacy and see what she's got to say. Hi, Stacy.
Hi, Ira. Hi, Doug. How are you?
Good, Stacy.
You haven't got your microphone.
There we go. That helps. Good, Stacy. Thanks for calling.
Yes, it works better.
You have any ideas of places you'd like to have been?
I do, and actually, I just wanted to tell you, as I was listening to you talk, I knew before you even said them. I mean, some of the, I could even imagine what you guys were going to say. I knew, Doug, that you'd want to be there for Kitty Hawk and
well, that was a throwaway. I mean,
yeah, and
McIntyre's number one thing would be a Kitty Hawk and the number 17.
It wasn't too hard to catch that Ira wanted to be at Gettysburg either.
No, and it wasn't. And actually, and also at Promontory, I kind of figured it would be something. But I was surprised, Ira, that you didn't choose something having to do with a great moment in baseball.
Well, I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Oh, okay.
You didn't hear what we were talking about during the break.
No, I didn't.
Because I was talking about October 2nd, 1908.
And that would be?
When Big Ed Walsh hooked up with Eddie Joss of the Cleveland Indians. Walsh had pitched 11 days in a row, including winning both games of a doubleheader on Sunday, 2 days before, and then he came back on, I think it was a Saturday, and he came back on this game against Joss with the pennant on the line, trying for his 41st win of the year. He pitched a 4-hitter, struck out 15 batters, and gave up 1 unearned run, and lost 1-0 because Joss pitched a perfect game. Had to be one of the greatest games ever played in baseball.
I guess. My goodness.
And then, of course, there's September 9th, 1965. And Sandy Koufax pitched the perfect game against the Cubs.
Well, I would have liked to have seen Babe Ruth play at any time, just to have seen Ruth play a game. I would have loved to have been at Jackie Robinson's first game.
Well, I've got the Ruth game for you.
Okay.
The game in the World Series against the Cubs when he either did or didn't call his shot.
Well, you know, they found new film on that.
I know, it doesn't clarify it.
It's not conclusive.
Yeah, it's not conclusive. What were you going to suggest?
The other thing I wanted to say is I think the only reason you're light on calls tonight is that it's so great to listen to the two of you that I think people are just kind of, focusing on listening to the two of you.
It may be partly that. It may also partly be that people watched the Oscars last night, went to bed early.
And it's also possible that some people are using us in place of Sominex.
No, that's what they invented C-SPAN for. Actually, what I was thinking about is I couldn't pick a specific date, but I think that I would really have liked to have been there through the time of the women's suffrage movement.
Oh. How about the Women's Rights Convention in Seneca Falls?
Sure.
That's exactly what I was going to talk to you about. I just saw it was incredible on PBS last Friday night.
Yeah, I saw that also. It's very well done.
Oh, my God. It was incredible. And of course, I felt like such a moron afterwards because I know so little about that history. And I feel kind of cheated because I don't remember ever studying anything about it in school.
Probably didn't. There was one paragraph in a high school textbook.
Yeah.
That was about it.
I'd like to put in a plug for PBS on this. The American Experience, which produced that documentary, as they have many others, consistently, show after show, does just the best documentaries for history on television that I've seen. They had one a couple of weeks ago on the duel between Hamilton and Burr that was so beautifully done. And they're about on April 9th, they're debuting a multi-part documentary called The American Presidents, which is sort of a personal look at each of the presidents. And if it lives up to what the promos for it are, it's going to be just extraordinary.
Now, is that Ken Burns also?
I don't believe Ken Burns is doing it, but the American Experience is doing it.
By the way, Doug also brought up as an event to be at the morning at Weehawken when Hamilton and Burr fought the duel and Hamilton was shot.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them. I would have liked to have been with Dwight Eisenhower in England when he had to make the decision to launch the invasion of D-Day. You talk about pressure. Oh, my God, there was pressure on one man.
Yeah. And, of course, there's so many others. I mentioned Charleston, South Carolina on the night of April 12th, 1861, when the order came to fire on Fort Sumter, and everybody in Charleston turned out to cheer in the streets at 4 o'clock in the morning and watch the bombardment. But that must have been an exciting moment.
Or how about when Atlanta was burning? I mean, there are a million of them. You can't. There's no way you can choose one, but it does make you think, and that's what I like, and that's what I enjoy about your show so much. And I just have to throw in one thing before I go, because I didn't call you last week. When Maureen Reagan was testifying before Congress and asking for $100 million, am I the only person who just kind of saw a little bit of irony there, that while her father was president, he was the one that enacted the ban on fetal tissue testing and research, which may have helped with Alzheimer's?
Well, that's an interesting point. Of course, there's always weak links in people's arguments and hypocrisies. And, I mean, you could make even a bigger philosophical point that here is the arch-conservative who didn't believe the government should be involved in these things at any level asking for money. It's like watching Pat Buchanan run for the Reform Party so we can get the government matching funds.
That's the only reason he's running.
I mean, it's just completely ridiculous.
Now, Stacy, I've got another event for you.
Okay.
I would love to have been at the Constitutional Convention on September 17th, 1789, when they voted on the Constitution.
Can you get me a ticket? Because I'd like to be there, too. No, there's a lot of great events. Now, Stacy brought up sports. Let me ask you this, because there's a lot of history. We all have history in our own lives. What was the greatest sporting event you were actually at? The greatest sporting moment you ever saw?
Oh, I'll have to think about that one for a little while. We got a break coming up here.
Because I know mine. I can tell you mine.
I'll think about it during the break. Stacy, thank you very much.
Okay, good night, you guys.
Appreciate
Bye-bye.
it. Bye-bye. It is 20 minutes before the hour, and I'm IraFistell at 888-822-TALK. Doug McIntyre with us, and we're having a lot of fun this morning. Join us, if you will. My name is IraFistell. Doug McIntyre is with us. We're going to take some more calls in just a second. Two things. I would have liked to have been in Mrs. O'Leary's barn on Sunday night, the 8th of October, 1871. Did the cow kick over the lantern and start the Chicago fire? That's one. The other one, you asked me what sporting events I remember graphically of great events. One was Maurice Richard getting his 400th goal in the Chicago Stadium, and I do remember that very well. The other one was not as significant an event, but boy, was it exciting. It was the last game UCLA lost before their 88-game winning streak. And it was at Notre Dame in the Athletic and Convocation Center. And if I remember correctly, Austin Carr got about 38 points and beat Notre Dame. And Notre Dame beat UCLA. And then UCLA won the next 88 straight. And 3 years later, in the same building, they lost the game that broke the streak. But I saw the last game before the streak began. I was there.
The two sporting events that I was at that were memorable, first comes to mind was Tom Seaver's 300th win when he was playing for the White Sox, pitching in Yankee Stadium, and I had to be there being a lifelong Met fan because I knew what would happen, and the ballpark was filled with Met fans, and in the fifth inning at Yankee Stadium, a chant of "Let's Go Mets" broke out at the White Sox-Yankees game, and that's when all hell broke loose, because the Yankee fans have been tolerating it up to a point, but when the chant of "Let's Go Mets" erupted at a White Sox-Yankee game,
I love it.
Fist fights broke out all over the ballpark, but it was an incredible, and in the eighth inning, Seaver was pitching a gem. In the eighth inning, there were 2 errors, and he had first and second on with nobody out, and he had to face Mattingly, Dave Winfield, and I forget who the third player was, but it was the heart of the lineup, and he struck out the side to get out of it in the eighth inning and won his 300th game. It still makes the hair stand up on my arms. The other one was Game 3 of the 1971 ABA playoffs, a first round between the Virginia Squires and the Nets, when Julius Erving was playing for the Squires and Rick Barry was still with the Nets, and Rick Barry scored the first 11 points of the game with 3 3-pointers, a stolen inbounds pass for a dunk. It was 11-0 with a timeout, and then in the third quarter, Julius Erving scored 25 points by himself, And it was an incredible game that came down to a last-second shot. Barry against Irving. They cleared out the side. He dribbled it down to 5 seconds, moved in and took a lefty hook and walked off the court with a 1-point win. It was an incredible ball game.
All right. Let's go to the phones. Steve is on the line. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Ira. I have so much to say and such little time to say it.
Well, why'd you wait so long to call?
I don't know. I was listening to music, and I had no idea that this is one of the best shows I've ever heard.
You cannot afford to miss the program, Steve.
I know.
Because something happens almost every night around here.
This is one of the best shows I've ever heard.
Well, we'll get McIntyre back again.
Okay. I want to tell you that it's funny that you bring up, I saw that game too, and you're wrong. Notre Dame did not beat UCLA. Austin Carr beat UCLA.
Seeing as Austin Carr was playing with a Notre Dame uniform on, I'd say Notre Dame won the game.
Wasn't Sidney Wicks on that team too?
I've never seen one person tear a team apart the way Austin Carr did.
I think he got 38, if I'm not mistaken.
Unbelievable.
I saw that Notre Dame team play St. John's that same year when they had Sidney Wicks and Austin Carr.
Well, Sidney Wicks was with UCLA.
Yeah.
Well, I want to share with you what my most fantastic sporting event was, and it involves UCLA. I'm a UCLA graduate. It was that football game in 1967 between UCLA and USC, 15 miles apart.
When O.J. Simpson ran 67 yards in the fourth quarter for the winning touchdown.
And still, even with that, UCLA should have won the game. All UCLA had to do was tie the game, and they would have gone to the Rose Bowl. Just tie it, 20-20. And Xenon Andrusician, who was the most prolific kicker in the nation, had gotten UCLA to where they were in that game by kicking several 50-yard field goals in different games to get them there. Well, he missed 3 field goals within the 20-yard line and missed 2 extra kicks. So UCLA, even though O.J. broke off that 67 pitcher-perfect touchdown, UCLA should have still won that game.
Well,
and
the
that
score was what, 21-20?
What?
Wasn't the score something like 21-20?
Exactly.
Yeah.
1967.
I
All right,
remember.
where I'd like to be in history is, I don't know if you remember this, but Steve Allen hosted a show in the 70s.
Meeting of the Minds?
Meeting of the Minds. I would have loved to have been one of the participants in Meeting of the Minds. That was just a fantastic show, and I give all the credit to Steve Allen. He's a genius. He did all the work, all the research.
Well, naturally, he's a Chicago boy. What do you expect?
Oh, is he really?
He grew up a few blocks from me.
He's a Chicago boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was about 20 years ahead of me, but...
I have so
Steve
much
is almost 80
respect.
now.
Yeah.
He turns 80 this year, actually.
You know, he was well ahead of me in years, but he grew up in the same area, Hyde Park.
Well, they had, on one show, they had Attila the Hun, they had Albert Einstein, some pacifist, and what's her name, who wrote those little short poems?
Emily Dickinson.
Emily Dickinson. And Attila the Hun just put them all down, saying what hypocrites they were, and I would have loved to have been a participant on that show. And
you wanted to be Attila the Hun, confess.
No, I wanted to be just me. Me making observations and comments.
Just a second, Steve. We got to come back.
All right.
It's now about 9 minutes before the hour. Doug McIntyre with us. I'm IraFistell.
IraFistell Show. Call us now at 888-822-8255. That's 888-822-TALK. Now, here's IraFistell.
And it's 6 minutes before the hour. Quickly, before we go do anything else here, Steve, we got to finish up your call.
Okay, I want to. I want to say that game, that football game in 1967, here you had Gary Beeben, future Heisman Trophy winner, O.J., future Heisman Trophy winner, and this game left the Bruins crying, screaming, yelling, and here you see the pomp and circumstances after the game, you know, with SC marching up and down the field with the batons and everything, just made you sick.
Not if you were an SC fan. It
Well,
didn't.
Steve, I'm glad to see that you've gotten over this. It's only been 34 years.
I still
And you
haven't
seem
gotten
to have-
over it, or else I wouldn't have brought it up.
Okay. Hey, Steve, thank you very much.
You're sounding like a Red Sox fan now.
By the way, Sports Illustrated picks the Red Sox to win the World Series. That's the curse of death.
That's a sign of the apocalypse, is what that is. Hey, listen, I'll tell you. You know.
Thank you, Steve.
Pedro was so good. Who knows?
We got to get Jay Corrales on here. Jay's our engineer, and he's sitting right here. This is the guy who had his own very big sports event that he saw. You were there when
Gibson hit the home run in Game 1 of the '88 World Series.
You were there when Gibson
I
hit the
was
home
there,
run.
and I've never seen, or I probably never will, feel any kind of excitement like that ever again.
Well, as I said, that's one of the greatest individual feats that I've ever seen in sports.
Well, it was
I mean,
it was voted the number one event in Dodger history in L.A.
Yeah. I mean, it was just the most exciting thing I've ever seen in my life. It was impossible that he did that.
Well, I thought the place was just going to fall apart. I mean, the whole stadium started shaking and everyone was just screaming. It was too much.
Were 2 out when it happened? I think it was 2 out when Mike Davis drew the walk.
Yeah.
And then Gibson came up, and of course he had to hit the ball out of the stadium because he couldn't walk.
He couldn't even walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had to hit the ball out or the game was over. And he hit it out.
Yeah, I remember the guy sitting next to us. He's like, what is this guy going to do? He's just going to strike out or fly out. He's not going to do anything. We lost this game.
Yeah.
I think I also would have liked to have been at the 62 Mets 120th loss of the year. I really would have liked to have
There's
been
a
at
Met fan.
No, I'm serious. I mean, that's why I have embraced the Los Angeles Clippers, because there is a point, if you're going to be lousy, really go for it.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than being 3 games under 500. I think if you're going to suck, you
might
really
as well
just
be really
be
rotten.
an Electrolux. I mean, really go for it.
Let's get Warren on the line here. Hi, Warren. Good morning.
How are you, sir?
Great.
Look, I want to ask you something about it. I call it deja vu all over again, you know, really. You were talking about Roosevelt a little while ago.
Well,
Theodore
T.I. we're
Roosevelt.
talking about, yeah.
Theodore Roosevelt. Down today we have basically, Theodore Roosevelt had his Bull Moose Party in 1912.
That's right.
Well, he broke away, which to me today, he was saying the same thing that our Republican contingency is saying. Except, though, that if it wasn't for him, for Roosevelt forming this Bull Moose Party, Wilson wouldn't have won the presidency.
That's correct.
That's probably true, yep.
Which is the same reason why the Democrats are going to win the presidency this term, because the Republicans are split. You know, Taft is our Bush. You know, McCain is our Roosevelt.
Except that he's not running as a third-party candidate.
Well, I mean, but he could by then. He very well could.
Well, your analogy is exactly right.
But basically, his liberalism is splitting the Republican Party, and you're going to have another Bull Moose. You're going to have a 1912, and you're going to have a hypocrite like Wilson was back in the presidency again. That's basically by my thought.
You don't think too highly of Al Gore, do you?
Not very much. I think he's not very much at all.
Well, I'll tell you, I think that you've got total agreement between Ira and I, because we don't like Woodrow Wilson either. He was a colossal hypocrite.
Right.
All right, Warren, we're out of time. Thank you very much. Call me again, will you? Doug, great show.
If anybody wants to reach me, you can get me at bialystock@earthlink.net. That's BIALYSTOCK@earthlink.net. And we'll see you next month, Ira.
See you, Doug. Thank you very much. Tomorrow night, we're going to have a program on airfares. Be with us. I'm Ira Fistel.
If it's taught you... We don't know who said it first. There's no such thing as a free lunch. It might have been the same person who said, you don't get something for nothing. Or that Murphy fella, you know, of Murphy's Law fame. But whoever it was, they obviously had never heard of the Shriners Hospitals across North America. Because for more than 75 years now, Shriners Hospitals for Children have been providing specialized